Welcome back to the Fear and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies, and just a little bit of beer.
So kill the lights, grab a cold one, and join us as we dive into this mad world we love.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
And I'm Jamie.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Did you miss me?
Aren't you drinking?
I never drink. Why?
And as a reminder to all listening, if you want to help us to continue growing as a podcast, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whichever streaming platform you use.
To stay up to date with us and all of our episodes, be sure to follow all of our socials. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Fear and Beer Pod.
Feel free to reach out to us. We love to interact with you all.
Not one, but two announcements. Thank God we pushed our recording because we were trying to record last week and then just life got in the way, and then we were going to record, today's Monday, we were going to record on Sunday night just to put something out for Slaughter Sinema and kind of, before our trivia night, we want to get another episode out to everybody. And then we're like, just push it. We want to play Guitar Hero. So we played Guitar Hero. And lo and behold, on a random fucking Monday in May, we get a second announcement for a completely unrelated, unrumored house. Nobody's talked about this. People are saying like, oh, I heard stuff. And okay, well, I'm one of those people. Someone did tell me about Goblins like a week ago, but I didn't believe them at all. And I think my reaction was like, that's fucking stupid. That's not going to happen. And then it happened. So like, I guess I did hear about it, but this really wasn't rumored. This wasn't on spec maps. This was, whether people knew about it or not, they weren't talking about it. So we have a lot to dive into.
I just want to point out, I did not play Guitar Hero.
No.
I'm jealous that I was not playing Guitar Hero.
Yeah, we got home. I was doing a video shoot and I didn't get home till like 9 o'clock. And I was like, I need more time to get more notes together. So we'll just do it till tomorrow. And then this morning I was sitting on the couch. As soon as it came through, I saw Jamie get up and run inside. I was like, I know what she's coming in here for. This is fucking weird. But yeah, so there's a lot to talk about. So let's get some stuff out of the way first. This might be our anniversary episode. Our 4-year anniversary is May 26th. I'm not sure if we'll put one out again this week because that's next Sunday. But of course, one of the bigger things that might get in the way is we have trivia. Trivia is going to be Wednesday, May 22nd at 7:30 p.m. at Topgolf Orlando. We're going to be hosting this with the Catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights, HHN33, the RIP Tour. They're going to be helping us do the different rounds of trivia. It's also we're going to have DOA clothing and Murder on Main there selling some select merch. And I kind of got the final listing of what they're going to have with them. And it's really cool stuff. So yeah, big fun event we got. So please, if you're in the area, come on out, celebrate with us, celebrate not only our 4-year anniversary, but 100 days, because on that day, that May 22nd, that's 100 days until Halloween Horror Nights. And with these announcements starting to kind of come hot and heavy, I know y'all are feeling the Horror Nights vibes. So come on out. Let's have a good time. Let's kind of see everybody. We're going to get everybody in one place for, before the season kind of kick starts. And that's going to be fun. So you guys excited for trivia? Seamus, you didn't do it last time with us. You nervous about hosting a trivia?
No.
No.
I mean, I'm not nervous. I can't wait for everyone to come up and be like, "You take on Goblins is stupid."
Oh, like, just you wait, my friend.
Just a preface.
Just a little tease.
It's just a little tease. I'm about to hurt some feelings, probably my own more than anything else. But I hope, as long as the cat don't come after me this time, we'll be all good.
But yeah, so I did some weird little stats. So 4 years we started this podcast, me and Seamus. It was a COVID project. You've probably heard the story 1,000 times, but we have noticed a pretty large growth in our Instagram. So I think we're getting some new listeners. So if you haven't followed us the whole time, this is a great time to jump in before the season starts. But this was just kind of a little pet project. We always sort of wanted to start something, and we did, and it's continued. We've been pretty regular with this. We have, counting this episode, 172 episodes.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
That is, I averaged it at about an hour and a half per episode. That's around 260 hours. That's
a lot of time.
That's a lot of time.
To nobody.
That's 10.8 days.
And how many of those episodes have Jamie on them? Did we do that number?
I didn't
'cause we
get
added
that
her
amount, but she's
a
been
year
about
ago.
a little over a year.
So probably
Fourth of that.
60 episodes of that.
What, two days worth? Is that 10 divided by 4?
Feels like forever anyways.
Maybe.
But, you know.
But yeah, so fun little stupid statistics.
That's exciting. 4
That
years
is exciting.
flew by, and now I'm old. Yay!
We were old when we started it.
Mm-hmm.
You're kidding yourself.
But I feel more old.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So let's get into some beer. I did get a special beer. I got a 6-pack, so I hope it's actually good. This is called Morning Glow, but it is from Swamp Head Brewery out of Gainesville, Florida. It's a small little micro brew. It's a 5.3% ABV, and it is they define it as a vanilla coffee blonde ale. I got this because Swamp Head reminded me of Swamp Yetis, which is where we got Yetis from in Slaughter Sinema, the first one. So I figured it was pretty apropos.
Good
But
work.
yeah, right. I like dropping that word every now and then. It's one of my smart people words to convince people I'm a
Apropos.
lot more intelligent than I am.
Apropos.
They define
Sorry.
this. It says, make your morning, evening, or afternoon glow with our vanilla coffee blonde ale. We've gently infused a delicate blonde with Madagascar vanilla beans and locally roasted blonde coffee, creating a palatable work of art reminiscent of a vanilla latte paired with a freshly baked scone. So we'll see if that's accurate at all. If it's bad, I got about 5 more of these things to suffer through. If it's good, well, I'll be
if
a
you
lot
don't like it, I'll
happier.
gladly take them off your hand.
I know you're not a big coffee one though. Well,
It depends.
Well,
I don't
when
hate
we did
coffee
the
beer. I
porters.
don't hate coffee beers. I don't like coffee,
I don't
but
either.
coffee beers don't bother me. It's so. This is just an aside, but like everyone's like, you don't like coffee? Like, how can you not like coffee? I'm like, I've never liked coffee,
Yeah.
but I like coffee ice cream, and I like a lot of beers that use coffee in it. So don't ask me why that's the case. I know people tell me, well, you should try iced coffee. Then you might like iced coffee. Nope, don't like that either.
I love coffee.
Yeah, I can't stand coffee.
I just get heart
it's-
palpitations, so I can't drink it really.
It's weird that it's a coffee beer, but a golden ale and not a porter as
That is
typically
weird.
a porter or a stout.
Yeah,
I think this glass was a little dirty. There's a little schmutz in there. Let's see if
Yeah,
what's
that's
wrong with
okay.
that?
I
It's
can get
okay.
this little fucker out of there. That's
Must have been one of the dishwasher dishes. It would never happen when I'm washing them by hand.
No, I think I specifically remember you washing this dish yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Weird. Not bad weird though. It does have more vanilla taste than coffee. I'm definitely getting the vanilla, which makes more sense being a light golden or a blonde ale. No, not bad. I don't mind this at all. So we don't have to spend too much time on the beer because like we said, we have a lot of stuff to kind of go into tonight.
Mhm.
I did want to point out one more thing. We got a really cool shout out the other day. One of my friends at work showed me it. I didn't even really notice that at the time, but Zombie Chris, what up? They pointed us out on their YouTube channel when we were kind of talking about our Sweet Theory, our Sweet Revenge, the license plate. So just want to give a shout out right back. If you're not checking out Zombie Chris,
That
I
is
don't know
pretty
what
cool.
you're doing.
Thank
That
you.
is cool. Yeah.
Go over to his YouTube page. If you're unfamiliar, it's all about theme parks, all about horror nights. So definitely check his stuff out. Got a lot of really good quality on there, and it's just such a good dude. So let's get into this. We're gonna kind of, I guess, do this in a little bit of an order. So Jamie, why don't you tell us a little about Spooky Empire? You went this weekend.
I
did not.
did.
Amos did not. This week with trivia and work and video, and May has been an absolute fucking like disaster. Like not disaster in that way, but like my mind is just in a billion places right now. So like the last thing I needed to do was go to Spooky Empire and blow money, which, you know, I'm going to see some people that I would have seen there. I'm going to see them on Wednesday. So it's fine. So why don't you talk about Spooky Empire and what you saw this weekend?
Yeah, Spooky Empire was a great time as always. I was the degenerate that decided to drop my shift last minute because I was like, man, one of us has got to go to the panel. I really, really want to go. And I was like, I could give up a day, I guess. Someone will pick it up. So I ended up going. When I got there for the panel, I got there around 4:30 and the line was super long to the point where I was like, oh my God, did they already cap off the line? I was kind of worried. But luckily, I had some nice buddies in line, Avion and Angel, who let me get in line with them, which was great. And we got pretty good
The
seats for
homies.
the panel. The homies. families. Got some really good seats for the panel, which was nice too. Essentially, they were kind of trying to trick us, I guess, because I was a little disappointed at first. It was really cool. They kind of went over like the background production of HHN, kind of like the technical aspect, the production aspect, all that kind of stuff. And each individual panelist kind of went over what aspect that they do to kind of build the event and everything. So it was really informational. It was really interesting to learn all that kind of stuff. But then at the end, they were like, wait a minute, I think there's one more thing we want to do. And they did it after all the questions and everything. So I was like, is this really it? And then they finally announced Slaughter Sinema, which was awesome. I know Seamus hasn't gotten to do the previous house that they had before. I know Nick did. It is a big fan favorite of his. I think I only did one run in this house because I only went to HHN one time that year. This was before I started doing Frequent Fear and stuff like that. But I loved it. Anything B-grade schlocky horror is right up my alley. So really looking forward to see the second iteration of this one. But Spooky Empire did a great job at putting on the HHN panel. It was really great. It was very well conducted. It was fun. It was really cool to see one of our new characters that we'll be getting in Slaughter Sinema as well. It's Metal Hell 3D. Is that what it's called, Nick, I want to say?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. But the punk mohawk
follows the theme of all the artwork and stuff so far, which definitely. I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Yeah, which I really liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. But all in all, it was a really great panel. It was really well put together. It was a good time.
Just noticed Seamus's shirt.
What's he wearing?
It's a Johnny Cupcake shirt, but it's Green Goblin from Spider-Man.
That's so funny. I didn't even realize it.
Sorry, I had to. I saw him leaning back, and I was like, "Wait a second!" I posted that GIF like 17 times on Twitter today. All right, so Spooky Empire. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Oh, shit, I just realized why you said that. That makes so much sense now. I didn't even think of that.
You fucking goblins.
Literally didn't even think of that. So you just said it. And the funny thing is, even like I told Colin about it today, my son. He was like, "Oh, goblins, like the Green Goblin." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't think he'll be in it." He's like, "What if he is?" And I'm like,
"There's going to be
maybe a goblin that's probably green." I'm an idiot. I am stupid. Sorry.
Colin gives me hope for the Green Goblin being in the house.
Colin gives me hope for the Hughes men because like he's the one carrying on the bloodline right now, and
we've already passed it on. We've passed ours off. All right, Jamie, Spooky Empire.
To get back into Spooky Empire. It's okay. Give me a minute to collect my thoughts. But yeah, all in all, like I said, great panel, great time. It was really interesting. This was the first time that they made a house announcement at a panel. So it was the first time. It was really cool being in the audience. Everyone was real hyped up. I think it was interesting that they did this just because in the past it's always been online announcements. I feel like we've usually been able to time it. And with Horror Nights posting on Twitter and everything, all the little nods to Spooky Empire that they'd be announcing something, was a little bit shocked at first that they actually did it. I know Nick was surprised too when I texted them that we got the house announcement because I know they wanted to be there too, but it's okay.
I was pissed.
It was, I wanted to, for the people who asked on Instagram and stuff, I wanted to live stream the event, but we weren't allowed to live stream, but it was nice that we were able to take some photos and do a little bit of videos and stuff like that. So that kind of made me feel better. So it was nice to be able to capture that. But Spooky Empire is always a great time. I think this was the last time that they had it at the Wyndham. So maybe in the next coming Spookies, we could hopefully have another HHN panel. I think it was really cool and probably have a bigger room and whatnot to have it in. I guess it'll probably be a little more in depth maybe. So, but yeah, I wish you guys could have came all around. It was a good time and it was really cool to be there and be able to experience the house announcement.
Yeah, I'm a petty, jealous asshole. I hate that they announced it there because I wasn't there. If I was there, I would have been like, oh, this is really cool. But because I wasn't there, I hated it because it just also like is kind of mind blowing. Like it doesn't make sense. We talked about it privately, but it's like Spooky's pretty big, but it's not like this gigantic thing. And I mean, how many people do you have like an idea of what do you think? How many people were there?
Honestly, the for Spooky Empire itself or for the panel?
In the panel.
In the panel, honestly, the whole panel room was filled up. The last panel that we went to... I
know it's full, but like...
The last panel that we went to had some seats open in the back. I would probably say maybe held to a couple hundred, probably 200, 250 maybe.
So it's like for an event on Horror Night scale, it's like 200 people is a fucking nothing burger for them.
Right.
So it's just kind of a weird tactic to announce on a Friday at 5 o'clock live in front of a pretty small audience.
Yeah.
But I'm only saying this because I wasn't there. So if I was there, it's like the coolest fucking thing in the world. But
maybe they just want to try something different too.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a whole discussion point amongst itself, right? Because we heard all along. I kind of thought it was the middle of the week before, and so did a lot of people. So I'm curious if this announcement came because maybe things fell through, maybe they don't feel confident in their IPs. It's weird because now we have 2 originals, and that's just kind of unheard of in this day and age. Typically, it's that big IP, get it out there, get ticket sales going high. And for us, a lot of people like that we talk to amongst the community and people that follow us, like we are the minority, right? Like we are such a small fraction of the Horror Nights community. We see everybody there often because we go more often than not. But when you total up the amount of visitors that come once a year or whatever, like, and they enjoy the event, but they're not listening to this podcast. They're not watching your videos. They're not going to panels. They don't really even know what these originals are. I was that person for the first couple of years because I didn't live here. I came once a year and I didn't know the lore. I didn't know the stories. I was like, oh, Jack the Clown. Like that's like, he's kind of like the main guy or whatever. I don't know. But that was like the extent of it. So it's really weird that they're doing the originals first because that's not what drives mass ticket sales. We love it, but you think somebody out there is like, oh, cool, a Goblin house, I'm gonna buy tickets now, like right away. Like it's no, Stranger Things is coming back for the 17th time, like I'm gonna get all my tickets. Like those are the money makers. So it's really intriguing. Do you have an idea as to like, or an opinion as to why you think they're going this route versus IPs?
So I do, and it was a good point. On Instagram today, I was reading some of the comments on the post that we made about the Goblins house announcement, and someone had said with the 3 house tour for the Unmasking the Horror being before the event, I wonder if they're going to announce those 3 originals before and use those as the houses, just so people kind of like get an idea of it. If it does get spoiled or something like that, people are already going to know what it is. But I feel like it's interesting to put Slaughter Sinema on there because that's kind of a bigger draw, I guess, like you said, for the people who are more seasoned going to the event more often. That was something, personally, I feel like that would be something I wouldn't want to see spoiled before going.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, though, the houses would all the houses are announced before the tours start. They're just starting a week before the event. So you would know all of them by then anyways. So I don't think they really care about 1 week's worth of, all right, Unmasking the Horror tour sales. I don't know if that kind of plays into it or not, but I don't know. Seamus, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you made a good point. How, if you think about it, Spooky's kind of a local event. I mean, I'm sure people come in from out of state that have been coming for a while that know about it, that are kind of horror people that tend to follow cons, because people do that. Like they'll see like, oh, who's going to be at this one or who's going to be that one, and they'll follow cons in that sense. But they're following the cons for Catherine Newton, someone like that who's going to be there. Not so much for what are the panels going to be, who the vendors are. Like they care more about who's gonna be there as far as guests are concerned. But for the locals who are like us, who go to like Horror Nights every year, 3 or 4 times a week. My guess is that if they were going to announce anything, it was going to be an original, something that the locals tend to be more all about. Because you're right. I don't think like them announcing Ghostbusters, for example, at Spooky would have been a huge, massive, hey, look at this announcement. Everybody's going wild. It's like they wouldn't need to announce that at a convention. They just announce it online because that's the majority of who's going to care about that. Is like you said, the people that are kind of just coming in for 1 or 2 nights, and they're coming for those big IPs. So announcing Slaughter kind of makes sense there.
Yeah, it's the crowd. That's the crowd that's going to cheer for that.
Right, correct.
If they did announce Ghostbusters, they're not going to cheer as loud for that.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, yeah, sweet, Ghostbusters. But because it's Slaughter Sinema, everyone's like, oh my God. Like, because that's just the crowd that's going to be at Spooky Empire.
100%.
But beyond that, it is a little interesting that they've announced 2 originals and no IPs whatsoever, considering we got Chucky a year before the event last year. They typically have that first big IP that's lined up announced by this point that says, hey, start gearing up because guess what we're going to have here? And they haven't done that yet, which is a little strange, I guess. But at the same time, I think what it is probably more procedural or business specific why they haven't announced anything yet. Either they're building some sort of media or marketing campaign for the house and they aren't ready to release that yet, or maybe whoever the studio is that they've got this IP from probably said, hey, we can't announce this until this date. I mean, my guess is, if for example, if Last of Us is no, I'm sorry, not The Last of Us. God, I keep going back to The Last of Us. If A Quiet Place is one of those big IPs that they're planning on, they're probably waiting until they drop like a full, movie lead up.
Yeah.
Like they probably dropped the trailer for that, but they haven't really started that big online media marketing campaign for the movie yet. And I think once that marketing kind of starts ramping up, then they'll say, hey, look, we got a house coming out in Orlando this year. Or if it's Nightmare, maybe they're waiting for some reason, maybe they're waiting for something. Or if it's Ghostbusters, maybe there's something else they're waiting on before they can actually drop that information. Because I think, unfortunately, like anything else, when it comes to the IPs, they have to kind of be careful and kind of go with what the studios want. They can't just be like, drop this.
There you go. Yeah.
And remember too, last year and even the year prior, they've been dealing with a lot of leaks too. We've talked about this already in the past, where I feel like they're trying to keep everything very, very. They keep everything really tight-lipped, and they're trying to keep people from dropping stuff early. So I'm wondering if maybe that's part of it too.
Yeah, if rumors that I've been hearing are true, a lot of people are saying we should know all of the originals this week. I think they're dropping them like one a day or one every 2 days.
Which would surprise me, I think.
Oh, it's very surprising. And I don't know if I like it or not.
It's very worrisome, honestly, for someone like me who likes IPs, because it just makes me think that the IPs are going to be shit and it's not going to have a good draw. And I think they're going to try and focus more on the originals this year, or kind of like the same thing they did with Stranger Things. Maybe they're trying to make that build up for something as if it wasn't going to happen, and then it comes.
Kind of where that's where I think it's going to be. I know normally I'm the doom and gloom guy, but like I think I'm holding out. I'm holding out on hope that I think it just means that they're waiting on. There's some logistic stuff that they got to wait on before they can say, "Hey, we have this. Prepare for this." I think once they announce the first IP, you're both going to be like, "Oh, thank God! Like that's actually pretty sick. I can't wait for that." But like we've also the three of us have talked about it, and in our last couple episodes where we've kind of given some opinions about what we think it's going to be. I don't know if any of us are super crazy wild about any of the projected IPs anyways, right? So like if let's say for example we're right, and we nail every single one of those IPs, do any one of the four like hype you up?
Insidious.
Insidious is probably my number one.
That's
honestly.
The only one. Yeah.
And like I'm not gonna lie to you, none of the four get me like yes. No, like Nightmare probably, if Nightmare actually is a thing, that'll be the one that'd be like, yes, all right, cool, I'm down, I'm ready to go. But like Insidious, I like the first movie, but I'm not wild about it. The Quiet Place, I'm less hyped and more intrigued to see how they pull that off. And then I forget the other one, but Ghostbusters. If Ghostbusters is a thing, like great, awesome. That's a huge movie. Everybody loves it. I had fun with the first house, but it's not like I'm gonna be like, damn, like I've been hankering for another Ghostbusters experience.
It does feel like a little bit. I mean, like I had Stranger Things 4 last year as something that I was pretty excited about, but again, like I wasn't just ridiculously excited because we had previously seen it. I'm waiting for that time where like we get that like true white whale where we're like,
right,
oh my God, the original Thing, or Season of the Witch, or Friday the 13th. Like if they announced The Shining again, like we'd be like, that's especially you'd be like,
I'd drop kick a fucking I don't know, a stuffed animal across the room if they heard we were getting Shining. Don't ask me why that would be the thing I do, but I just couldn't think of something in the moment.
Goblin,
but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I know where you're coming from.
But it's just like, yeah, I do feel a little lackluster on some of the IPs. So I think maybe they already have some pre-announcements made for Epic in the summer, and they're like, we don't really want to double dip. We don't want to put Epic stuff out and then a Horror Nights thing. So maybe that's like taking up the normal advertisement spots. So that way, like, that's all I can think of, really. I really don't understand the originals coming out first, which is fine. But I really also don't, if they do all come out this week, obviously we'll talk about that, when they do. But I don't know if I enjoy knowing all of them this fast, because I like that. I want that, that intrigue and this speculation conversation to continue from now until August when we get that dump versus like, I guess the dump is like putting them all at once is like kind of like looking down upon the originals, like they don't matter. So I would like them to be staggered almost the way we're doing it now, but in early August. So that way we can kind of keep talking for this.
Yeah, I mean, it could also very well mean that like they're going hard on the originals this year and they're going to give us some heavy hitters just original wise. Like we're getting Slaughter 2, Goblins, which we'll talk about. But then you might get like some big, either sequels or some just pretty big heavy hitters. I think Sweets was really well received. So if that's an original house, that's going to be a pretty big drop. I can imagine them doing a pretty hefty marketing campaign just on that house alone.
Yeah.
Get a commercial with Mr. Sweets and Mrs. Treats and like kind of like have them, drag that person through. Because the thing is, we keep getting those images of videos of people being underneath the park too.
Yeah.
And so far, neither Slaughter nor Goblins has really anything to do with being stuck underground. You know what I mean? So
yeah. It's interesting. The one of the other thoughts that I had is we look at last year, look at Blood Moon, right? Amazing house.
Yep.
Line was very rarely high. Maybe they want to start pushing people there, and it's a way to like disperse the crowd without I don't know. Maybe they just want to give some more attention to
I think
the
that's
originals.
a solid that's not a bad thought, because I think they do need to push the originals a little bit harder. Not that it's like a dire thing, because I don't think the originals are really hurting. They always knock them out of the park, regardless of whether they're a weaker original or a stronger original. But maybe giving them just some early love makes more sense. But
all right, so let's get into Slaughter Sinema original first before we talk about this, because I think at the panel or online they had mentioned that there's eight movies that we're going to be talking about, but there could be a return. 8 new films.
Some returning fan favorites and 8 new films that'll be depicted in the house.
Okay, so we might get like 10 or 12 or something like that. Like we don't know yet the exact amount. We know 8 new ones. So 7 really, because we know about the heavy metal 3D.
Right.
7 unknown news and then a couple returning. So let's go, let's walk through the original real quick, and we'll kind of go through there, and then we'll kind of see if there's one in particular or 2 that we'd like to see come back.
So I kind of took like the little snippet of what they had on the good old HHN wiki to kind of do the rundown for this. So it's showtime at the local drive-in, the Cary Drive-In to be specific, where you don't just catch a movie, the movie catches you. Fear flickers on the screen, filling you with a mixture of dread and delight. Sorority sisters make a monstrous offering, werewolf bikers go on the hunt, more than jack-o'-lanterns are carved at a gut-strewn pumpkin patch. Bloodthirsty children come out to play at a deranged kids arcade. As each 80s B movie screams to life, you'll shriek with terror as you try to avoid alien cannibals, a murderous barber, and a ravenous swamp yeti. With the credits roll, heads roll. I just love it so much. I'm just so excited for it. And I know Nick is too, which is fun because sometimes we don't always agree on everything, especially some of the original houses. But the movies that were in the first iteration of Slaughter Sinema, we had The Foul Fists of Dr. Faustus, Sorority Sacrifice, Devil Dogs, Pumpkin Guts, Shitty's Kids, The Cult of Beast Baby, one of the fan favorites is what I'm thinking, Amazon Cannibals from Planet Hell, Barber Chop, Midnight Snack, The House Swarming, and Attack of the Swamp Yeti, which I also think we might get a little sneak peek of our Yeti buddy again. But the house started out where you would go through the sort of movie concession stand at the Cary Drive-In. When you first walked into the house, it had the drive-in theater screen showing all the different previews for the different movies being shown at the theater. And you walk through the little concession stand, and the first room that you hit is Sorority Sacrifice, and then I'm pretty sure it goes Pumpkin Guts, Shitty's Kids, Beast Baby, Amazon Cannibals from Hell, Barber Chop, and Attack of the Swamp Yeti. I think there was 2 or 3 that were shown in the previews. I think the Dollhouse one in the videos I could find on YouTube were those were the main ones that they showed in the video. So it might have been something for media that they couldn't do the whole video. But Sorority Sisters, I thought it was interesting. It's kind of set in like a dorm room style girls' dorm as a sorority house, I guess. But some of the masks that they're wearing for their sacrifice looked very similar to some of the masks that we saw in Chupacabra when we had some of the different characters in there.
Okay.
I thought some of like they looked like they were kind of like the hand-painted like animal masks sort of things, like the paper mache looking ones. Kind of looked like that, kind of like alien-like. Pumpkin Guts and Shitty's Kids were probably 2 of my favorite ones. I was getting really strong Scarecrow vibes from Pumpkin Guts, which is cool. You had a lot of the jack-o'-lanterns, a lot of the farmer Scarecrow style pumpkins coming out for the scare actors. Shitty's Kids, I think would probably be one of the ones I definitely want to see. This one was so cool. You had the party stage set up kind of like Chuck E. Cheese style. You had the pinball machine, the arcade games, the claw machine with the severed head hanging from the claw. I want to have that at the house. I just need it. But some of the other ones too, Amazon Cannibals from Planet Hell. This one was kind of giving me strong invasion vibes with some of the character design that they had for the Amazonian cannibals, which were really cool. I liked that one. They were creepy in a sexy way, I guess. A sexy intergalactic way. And then Barber Chop was one of the last ones before Swamp Yeti that we saw. So yeah, a lot to go over with Slaughter Sinema, a lot of movies that we didn't get to see all of them, but like I said, on the drive-in projection that they showed before you would enter the house, kind of gave you little trailers of everything, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, which is something I hope they do again too. I hope they set it up similar where it's the drive-in exterior. So this is a good talking point too. Do you want to see this in a tent, because it was originally Sprung Tent 2 where we had Wicked Growth, Bugs, Oddfellow in the last years. That's where it originally was in 28. Do you want to see it in that, like one of the smaller tents, like the older tents? Do you want to see it in one of the newer tents that are almost parade house style? Or do you want to see it in a soundstage? Where do you think this would be best suited for you?
Personally, I really like the style of how they have it with the tents. I usually always like those houses. I feel like it's a little more spacious and you have a little more room with those houses specifically. But I think it would be really cool to get this with a soundstage too. I know they could do so much with both of them, but just the more immersiveness I get when you're inside the soundstage is pretty cool. So I wouldn't mind either way getting either.
I think I'd rather a tent just because I want that like close quarters. I feel like the sound stages are good for like large, high scale stuff. And I don't,
correct.
This doesn't need that. Can they do it? And can it be really cool? Of course they can. But I think being in the tent kind of puts it like in your face. It's really, it's just engulfing. And I think it's just more fun to kind of walk through. James, do you have a preference on like soundstage versus tent versus whatever?
No, because I think they do a good enough job in a tent that they don't really need the extra space all the time. I think for certain things it makes sense, but for certain other things, I don't think they need to. And with this particular house, I can't foresee a whole lot of massive set pieces. Like everything's going to be very segmented, where it's like this is this movie and this is this movie, this is this movie, and you can be kind of intimate with it. Especially considering it's supposed to mimic and parody like 80s horror movies, so it's supposed to be like super low budget, super low tech. So I think you don't necessarily need that extra height that you get with a soundstage. But would I be opposed to it being in a soundstage? No, as long as it's not taking away from something that would need to be in a soundstage.
Right.
Yeah. And
sorry, I missed half of what you were talking about because my cats are assholes, but that's besides the point.
That's okay.
We were just talking about Slaughter. So I get so you said Sorority Sisters, you'd like to see that one come back?
Shitty's Kids.
Shitty's Kids,
I think Shitty's Kids would be Sorority Sacrifice was that one. That one was still pretty cool, but Shitty's Kids I would like to see a little sequel to. The Cult of Beast Baby. Sorry, I think one of our friends came.
No, you're good.
The Cult of the Beast Baby.
Yeah, so I would like to do. Yeah, I would like Shitty's Kids to come back. That one was really fun in the arcade and stuff like that. I also think I'd love to see Devil Dogs. That was rumored 2 years ago. We had a rumor of Devil Dogs on the map where we kind of thought maybe something's coming back. but it's like the werewolf bikers and something like that. I'd love to see.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. Is there one that I know you didn't get to see these, Seamus, but by like titles, is there a specific?
Shitty's Kids is just hilariously sounding. It's hilarious sounding. I mean, anything
so
called
cool.
Shitty Kids or Shitty's Kids, I think is funny as hell. But no, I kind of want to see, just give me new things. Like I want to see like a parody of like the 99-foot tall whatever woman, which you've always seen those different like goofy movies, or give me something like gigantic irradiated like grasshoppers or something stupid like that. Jamie has something to say, by the way.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. I was like, why isn't it going away?
I guess not being someone that's seen it before, like I don't really have an affinity to anything in particular. I'm never opposed to having like another Pumpkin Lord return, so maybe like a Pumpkin Lord,
a pumpkin style
B movie or something like that, or some sort of sequel to like that, or even if you took like an original house from the last couple of years and you make it like a B movie horror, like a horror movie, like a B horror movie out of it, and like make that like a poster or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, so I got some stuff to sell you guys.
So
I'm gonna let Jamie do hers first, because I have a list of like, this is my audition to work for Horror Nights, okay? And if we don't use any of these ideas, I'll be so mad, because these things are awesome and I want to see these be made. So Jamie, you go. We'll talk about yours, and then I'll list through mine, because I'm excited.
So I just wanted to say, now that Boots is done barking, like I said, Shitty's Kids, 80s style, Chuck E. Cheese, kids killing the people who work there. Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm getting strong ones. But I was going to say the Cult of the Beast Baby, which was also a fan favorite, looked very cool in the house. Seamus, you would be scared. I was scared. Kind of in a mirrored room filled with candles, dark cloaked figures, strobing lights, chained up beast baby like figures in the distance. Some of the characters move. It looked really cool. I know that one was a fan favorite, so it'd be fun to see that one too, is what I was gonna say. But you're really gonna make me, I don't even want to say my suggestion, because it's not very good. Okay, let it be known that Nick is very creative when it comes to stuff like this. And
you sell
personally,
yourself way too short.
No, Seamus, I don't, because I know I'm not that guy.
Just hit me with it.
He's definitely good with this kind of stuff. I'm only good with that writing. But so we tried to come up with a few of our own B-grade horror movies. And now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I might have stolen
a movie that was actually a movie.
Might have stolen this movie idea a little bit, but not really, because it's not exactly the same. So Nick and I are both very big fans of Chopping Mall. Yep. We love that movie. So I was thinking Mall Cop Madness. A deranged security guard who works in the local mall, in the food court, killing the patrons of the mall. Kind of set up, since we're going with the 80s theme, kind of set up 80s style food court, kind of like the Star Court food court in Stranger Things. The reason why I said it reminded me of Goblin Mall is because I was gonna say he could like ride around on his little like Segway, like running over people and stuff like that. But that's kind of like
Paul Blart.
That's kind of like
evil Paul Blart.
Yes,
evil Paul Blart.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's kind of like in Chopping Mall, where they have the robots that kind of kill one, but it wouldn't be a robot; it'd be the mall cop. So that was probably as in depth as I got to that idea. And that's all I really thought about. Nick thought of all the other ones, but I kind of really liked that one. So pretty good for me not being that off the top of things.
So I came up with.
That's bad. I think it's awesome.
I have 8 concepts. Some of them have titles, and I just have like bullet points of stuff that like I don't know. So let's start this off one good. All right. So this is Cosmic Cowboys 3: The Final American Frontier. It's alien cowboys, and like I want like a cactus monster, like an evil spittoon. I need like a bank heist scene, a saloon fight, something in that like, so it like meshes Western and like sci-fi almost. Like I just want to see almost like Paul the movie, where the aliens got like the cowboy hat on, and like I could just see him with like the sheriff's badge, but it's like a galactic sheriff's badge.
I think you said you wanted a Cowboys Aliens house before. I think you've said that before.
When we did our guest map in January, I originally had a Western original on there. So I do want to see some sort of Western representation in here. And we're going to they mentioned spaghetti westerns, so I know we're going to get something like that. So that was one idea. Do you guys like that one? Because we got more.
Can we call it Space Wars? The frontier far away, or something like that.
I like that.
If we're cool with that, then I'm down. Let's go. Make it happen.
I like it.
The next one, the title is just a little meh. I called it Pixel Punishment.
Okay.
And it's sort of like evil, like we've talked about. It's kind of like an arcade. It's just the evil video game, sinister console. Like I came up with like different names for like the evil character. So it's either the glitch master, the game master, something like that. Dark Bite, like just something stupid. But like I want, if we're gonna do 3D-ish stuff, which they mention 3D in the title of the one movie we know. I don't think that means the house is going to be in 3D, but this could be that very trippy style, like Tron-esque sort of room. This next one is just ridiculous. I don't have really much on it, but I called it Love in Binary, and I want it to be like a robot wedding, and like the robots start to malfunction and they just like go on a rampage. Like I just want like cheesy robots getting married. I don't know
see
why.
you were inspired by chopping
or
a little bit.
When the priest, when the person marrying them asks, is there anybody that has something to say or forever holds your peace or whatever? Somebody actually gets up and is like, I have a problem with this, and the robots go like malfunction and start murdering everybody.
I do.
or the person that stands up and says something, they say like the kill code. They're like execute kill order 775, and the robot's like.
But I wanted to do robots, and I wanted like a ridiculous setting. So I just pictured like robots getting married.
Like a couple of Johnny Five robots just getting married.
Yeah, like Short Circuit style. Like
yeah, right.
Wally getting married, gone mad. Great. This one's a little out there. Actually, they're all very out there, so I don't have to repeat that. But this one's called the Jungle Ball, and this is going to be like a high school prom, but the humans are animals, so almost like Zootopia style. So they're like animals dressed up in like tuxedos and prom nights, and the hunters.
Why not just do? Sorry, continue. I'll let you finish, then I'll give you my.
Yeah.
I say like hunters came in to like attack the prom and kill them, and it was just like a bloodbath. And you're kind of.
Why don't we just call it Animal House and just do Animal House with actual animals?
Yeah, like Greek college Animal House.
Right, exactly. But it's like actual like killing machines, killing humans at a college.
It's so funny that you did an animals one, because I was trying to think. There's this like short film on YouTube that came out a while ago called Possibly in Michigan that I really like, that has like weird, creepy, like animal style mannequins in like suits and stuff like that. And I was really trying to think of something to go along that line. So I'm really feeling that one, Nick.
I know the first Slaughter Sinema had like a sorority sleepover kind of thing, but I did this one. I have no like. I just have the title, and it's called Zombie Sleepover. Like a bunch of Z's, like they're sleeping.
Ooh, clever.
Zombies like in pajamas and like doing pillow fights, and somebody hits a zombie's head and that head falls off or something like that. It's just all just ridiculous. This one, these next three are my favorite, I think. So I have the Demon Disco Inferno, and it's a hell-based disco. Yep. And it's all like demons and devils. Like, so you got like the devil in like bell bottoms doing like the little pointy dance with the disco ball. And you can get the floor. You can get the floor as like one of the dance floors where the lights are coming up. And it can be really, we had 69 with Vamp 69. So we didn't really have 70s, but I think this would be fun to do like a full on 70s house.
That's my favorite, but with like demons.
Yeah. So you have like the demons with the big fros, and like, it's just,
I like that.
Just super ridiculous. That one I think it could be a lot of fun. These next two, these names, I love these.
John, we have a main character be called John Revolta.
There you go. Hey.
That's a good one.
I like it. These next two. All right. Shelf Shock 6. Clean up on aisle 666.
I knew you were going to do a food one.
So this is kind of like an evil sausage party.
Yes.
Where it's like a haunted supermarket and the food becomes possessed. And they trap the customers in there, and they start to kill the customers for eating them. So,
all right. So can my inner gamer nerd kind of like hijack this a little bit?
Yeah, jump in.
Rather than make all the food products evil, and then you have a fucking kick-ass microwave man who like is the good guy, and you call him Duke Nukem.
Oh, I like it. Okay, there we go. And that's how they have to like combat each other.
Yeah.
But I
Why
just
are you guys
going
so
through,
creative?
going through a haunted.
This is why I undermine myself.
supermarket would be so fun.
I love that. I really do. I think that's my favorite one. That and the Demon Disco.
So this name, this last one I have. It's called
Say it.
Cock-a-doodle Doom.
Sounds like a fucking Goosebumps book title.
It's a
awesome.
radioactive plant is next to a chicken farm, and it overheats and it leaks into the water, and the chicken turn into these giant green radioactive chickens, and they kill the farmers.
Can we just make them like they just grow really big? So they're
Yes,
just regular
yeah.
chickens. They're like
Giant
shoots
chickens that
lasers
are
out of their
green.
eyes or some shit.
Yes, I had two other names for it. I was gonna call it Eggstinction
Cletus, get the shotgun. The chickens are escaping.
or Poultrygeist.
Oh, I like that one.
I like that one. But that would have to be like
I think
haunted
that might be a
chickens.
movie.
Yeah. But Cock-a-doodle Doom is like that's
Yeah,
my-
I don't know.
That's pretty good.
But you know what? I kind of like Poultrygeist. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Better
Poultry.
trademark
But
that.
rather than be like a nuclear plant, it would be like a haunted house, like Poltergeist. But instead of it's like a
It's just
haunted
a
hen
chicken.
house.
Like a chicken
It's
coop.
Poltergeist.
But I just need the giant green chickens. That's why I need the.
Cletus,
the-
the chickens are haunted. Cletus,
they be pecking. They be pecking. Like Universal.
They pecked the baby to death.
Universal. Let me do Slaughter Cinema 3, and I will get you these ideas. You don't even have to pay.
Just don't
me.
let me act in it because I'm terrible. I'm a terrible actor. I'm
If
not
you want
funny at all.
Cock-a-doodle Doom, you know who to call.
Although that name is pretty good too.
That name is
Cock-a-doodle
pretty
Doom.
good.
But those are like the kinds of movies that this thing is just thriving on. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we get anything in that sort of realm. I mean, those are the kinds of things that you can expect in this house. If you didn't get to go through Slaughter Cinema, the original in 28, something, just these outrageous ideas. And I might even think of more for the next couple of weeks. And maybe I'll introduce that as a segment. I'll present one Slaughter Cinema idea per week until we get to the event. Let's get to the stuff that came out today. Goblins Feast.
The thing that came out today.
The announcement. So the announcement is, welcome to the Goblins Feast Tavern and visit the Goblin Village, where a lavish feast is being prepared for goblins, orcs, hobgoblins, and witches, and you're the main course. Dun, dun, dun. So, I mean, we're getting back into the fantasy realm, but it's like something that we've kind of always dipped our toes into, though, a little bit, because we had Dragons last year, and then we have Conjure the Dark, which is something else that I'm getting vibes from. We had Wicked Growth, which obviously wasn't revolved around goblins, but there were little goblin characters in the house. And the whole Feast Tavern thing is giving me Spirits of the Coven / like
Vikings is what I was
Blood
thinking.
Moon. Yeah, Vikings Undead,
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is really weird. It's interesting. I don't know where they're gonna go with this. The last time I was excited about a bar setting house, Spirits, it kind of burned me.
Mhm.
And as you know, me and Seamus are not the big fantasy people. You know, this doesn't really. It's hard to be mad at this when I just got Slaughter Cinema. So that's like the caveat.
Right.
So
It's a soft landing.
Correct. It lessens the blow a little bit, but if they just came out at Spooky and announced Goblins Feast, I'd be like, what the fuck
I think we'd
is
be
happening?
like, what?
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why they didn't do that.
Correct.
They're
So-
not stupid.
Let's go to Jamie first, because I think
Mhm.
she'll probably have an easier take on it than our takes.
More optimistic.
She's gonna be nicer to it.
It's usually-
Yeah,
usually
yeah,
the
yeah.
nice one.
Yeah.
Even though fantasy really isn't my thing either per se, I feel like I'm a little more excited about this than I was with dragons, just because I feel like the goblins and ogres and that kind of stuff have always been, you could always do really good character design with that. We've seen it in Conjure the Dark. You had the little goblins running around. Like I'd said before, I'd mentioned with the Vikings Undead, had those kind of goblins, the one on the little fire pit skewer rotating the burn body rotisserie chicken type of style thing. But with the tavern style feel, how you said that, it immediately brought me to kind of like, I've never even really seen Lord of the Rings, but like I just feel like it would be that kind of like setting, I guess. Have you guys seen Lord of the Rings? Probably.
Oh, of course
Yeah.
I've seen Lord of the
So
Rings.
maybe that like meadowy, outdoory kind of setting with the stone buildings, all the
Mead.
woodwork, mead, big old turkey legs, giant clubs, kind of stuff like that. I feel like there's just so
Cool.
many different designs that you could do with goblins and ogres and orcs and everything they had mentioned in the announcement, that this is the possibility of being really cool, honestly. I feel like even though I wasn't too ecstatic that we got 2 original house announcements back to back, I am glad that they're 2 very different things. So it gives us a little something to look forward to and more diversity when we talk about it too.
Yeah, there's definitely variety with this house.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn. You know, I'm never gonna write a house off completely before we go through it, obviously.
Well, your name isn't Seamus, so obviously you're not going to do that.
But I'm not necessarily excited for it. Like, it's just, I'm not a fantasy guy. The goblins and orcs and whatever, it doesn't really do anything for me. You know, I know a lot of people are excited about this. They love that, like, D&D style, Lord of the Rings. I watched Lord of the Rings movies once each, and I never really have to go back to them again. I don't get enjoyment out of that stuff. Game of Thrones, like, that's sort of in the fantasy wheelhouse. I've watched half of season 1. Like, it just, that style of stuff doesn't go toward me. I don't care about that stuff. I've never been into the fantasy style world. Now, if this is like a complete joke house, like it's just the comic house, like I'd almost rather that, because it's not going to be scary. This is probably going to be a comedy house. This is probably going to be sensory, because we're talking about a tavern and goblins. Goblins smell, taverns have drinks and food. So there's probably going to be some spilling water effects. There's going to be a lot of different, you know, if we're the feast, they're going to be cooking food. So it's going to be food smells. I just don't see it being a serious house. But I don't know. Seamus, we went from Dwagons to Goblins. What are we thinking?
Yeah, Jamie stole my opening line. So last year we had Dwagons, and now we have budget Lord of the Rings. Phenomenal. I think so. I'm going to be kind, because I'm more. Let me reword that. I'm less down on this than I was when we got Dragons announcement. We get the Dragons announcement. I think there's probably more you can do with something like this. You're not really kind of stuck or forced to follow the path that they had to with Dragons last year, because Dragons obviously had an established lore, and you're also using something that people have an affinity for, because it's retro. Everyone remembered the ride. Everyone was like, "I love that ride. Oh, I love the queue for that ride. I'm gonna love this house." Whereas this is like, now we can kind of a little bit more open with it, like orcs, goblins, like that's very universal. Everybody, you know, everyone has some sort of history with Lord of the Rings, has a history with some sort of fantasy growing up, whether you like it now or not. As a kid, you definitely had something to do with it. Everyone was forced to read The Hobbit in 9th grade. Let's just put it that way. As freshmen in high school, y'all read The Hobbit. I read The Hobbit. You read The Hobbit. Everyone read The Hobbit. So you kind of have that initially just built in. But I'm with Nick. This isn't going to be scary whatsoever. So if they don't go the joke route with this and try to take this serious, it's going to be an absolute dud. It's going to be awful, and you're probably going to hate it. But again, this is what I said about Dragons last year, and it was like voted best house, or was close to being voted best house if it wasn't, because people are weird and like weird shit. But that's besides the point. And I'm not here to poo-poo anybody's enjoyment and things. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you do, because I know I'm probably not going to enjoy it. But hey, you know what? We'll see what happens. I've been known to be wrong before.
It just has to be the fun house, like you said. It has
You think
to be.
so?
Yes.
How can you take this serious?
Yes.
I think they're going to try to make it. I think they're going to try to make it serious. I don't know. I just keep picturing that it's going to be the Vikings undead with those kind of creatures and
and
cooking of the flesh and the body parts and like that kind of like scenery. I just feel like they're going to put that into the house. I don't know. I could be wrong. True. I could see it as a scare zone too.
But I mean, again, I'm not again. Goblin Feast. So is this going to be like 8 rooms of the same tavern? Because taverns weren't big. Like they weren't very big buildings. They were like single room buildings where it's like, how much can you do with this? And again, I'm not. I don't want to poo poo this one immediately because it is an original, so it's not like based in anything in particular. But like Nick said, I'm not a massive Lord of the Rings guy. Like I like Lord of the Rings. I can appreciate Little Lord of the Rings. I appreciate the movies for what they are. I did read all the books because I'm a reader. And it's one of those things, like if you're a reader, you kind of have to read Lord of the Rings. It's like if you haven't read Lord of the Rings, people are like, yeah, I haven't read Lord of the Rings before.
Rite of passage.
So I'll read it. I've read every Game of Thrones book that's been released because George R.R. Martin's an asshole and won't finish his fucking books. Which, if you're listening, Martin, finish your books. No, I'm just joking. I love you.
But seriously, finish the books.
Anyway, but seriously, and I did just binge. Actually, now that we're talking about this, I did just binge the House of the Dragon show on HBO. So I partake in the fantasy, but I don't like live and die by it. I've never played D&D. I have no intention to ever play D&D. But I do enjoy Magic
the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering. There are things that I enjoy.
Sorry, Seamus, didn't mean to try and cut you off there.
You're good. You're good.
I was just gonna say, I feel like the only fantasy stuff I really got into, it might have been after your guys' time, was RuneScape. Don't know if you guys ever got into RuneScape, but I was
after our time. Oh, you be quiet, Jamie. You hush your mouth. I played RuneScape. I was playing
it in like middle school. I feel like you guys were like older than me by then, so you might have thought it was lame.
No, it came out in like '98, I think. So. Really? I mean, you were a kid when that movie came out. Like game came out. Yeah. But no, I mean, yes, I know what you're talking about. So that's why I would never say that I'm not like 100% a fantasy guy. But it's just not something I'm not living and dying by it. Like it's not like I'm not gonna sit here and go, oh, goblins, I can't wait. Oh, I can't. I'm just not doing that. And to me, it's weird that it was the second announcement. Like, am I the only one who thinks that like this is your second? You do Slaughter Sinema 2 and then Goblins Feast.
I think they kind of hide it.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I mean. I feel like we're burying this announcement somewhat because now you're going to get a bunch of other originals over the course of the week or the next couple of weeks, and everyone's going to forget that this one was announced. Like if they reserved this one for last, I feel like it would feel less punchy. So they either have something planned that's going to knock everyone's socks off, which is wild to me because they announced Slaughter Sinema 2. But then again, they needed something big for Spooky. So I can see why they would use that one because it's a big, retro house from, years past that people, are amped for. So that would make sense why they would use that. But yeah, I just felt it was weird that Goblins was like that. This is getting treated as like the second announced original. But again, I won't poo-poo it until I've done it. So just like last year, I'm gonna sit here and complain and cry about it, but I'm not gonna not do it. Like I'm gonna obviously do it.
It's so funny when you say that.
It's kind of like a wrestling pay-per-view where if you're not in the main event, you want to be in the first match because you set the tone for the rest of the night.
I agree. Yeah, I would agree with that.
The second match is like the absolute spot you do not want to be in.
Right.
Because it's just kind of a nothing match. So
do you think they stick this in that Blood Moon house area? Do you think they stick that there or do they stick this in a sprung tent?
I think this is a tent house.
You think?
I think so. I think they want to go small with it. And I'm curious too that I know this might be a whole different conversation, but I know the HHN budget is much different than Epic's budget, but it is all coming from the same company. I'm curious if trying to craft houses that they can pick pieces that they've kind of more recently used just to kind of save
probably.
A little bit. Because you can take some stuff from Conjure the Dark and some stuff from Dragons and
right.
This in there. And same
which
thing
is, I guess, to me, another thought that I had where it's like, because I did initially when I saw it, when you first sent the text message to me today and said, "Hey, look what they announced," I was like, and my first thought was like, "Oh, like, again? Like we just had Dragons. Like, we literally just did Dragons. I literally just had a meltdown over Dragons. I can't have a meltdown over another fantasy house.
Years of melting down.
But now that you say that, we did talk about on the Spec Map episode a couple weeks ago about how it's interesting that we're getting 6 originals and 4 IPs. Is this potentially that original that they had to kind of come up with quickly?
Yeah.
And like you said, yeah, and they've done because that's well, actually, now that you say that, Jamie, I mean, what on the Spec Map gave away Goblins?
So I think what I have seen people talking about, the people that kind of use their notes, the insiders, they said that communication might have just misinterpreted. I think what they were referencing on the map was the black and white house. I think they got rumors kind of confused, and there was supposedly Goblins stuff happening in the house, but they thought maybe it was a part of that house, or that other house. The rumors were just kind of mixed up. So I don't think this was the unknown original on the latest map. I think that means that's the black and white house. Whether that house is still happening or not, they just aren't sure. I mean, Universal is getting good about this stuff. They're kind of definitely cracking down.
They definitely are doing better about it, but they still give out leaks and shit. But that's besides the point. But no, you're right. That makes sense. Good. I mean, but let's just just for the sake of argument, let's say this is that house that, hey, we needed to come up with something quickly. I'm less concerned because that means we're still going to get 4 other really good originals. And again, I keep saying that as if like this is going to suck. I'm not saying that. So don't come at me. Don't add us on fucking Instagram. But Seamus, you're a piece of shit. I like Goblins. Okay, I'm glad you like Goblin
Lover 47.
That's great. I'm happy for you. You're getting yours. I'm just not. This doesn't scream. Just doesn't scream. Seamus, this is for you, bro.
Says the guy wearing the green Goblin shirt.
Well, yeah, but come on, man.
There is going to be no Willem Dafoe in this.
This ain't no Willem Dafoe. This ain't no Spider-Man.
I'm curious.
But this is the thing. But I don't want Spider-Man house. Like, don't give me Spider-Man villain house. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I want. That's not what I go to Horror Nights for.
I'm interested too. If we obviously know Slaughter Sinema is coming out too. I'm curious when we have a compilation house like that has potentially 10 properties in it. How many of those, like maybe people got tipped off on rumors about costumes or something, and it's just a part of Slaughter Sinema, but they didn't know it was Slaughter Sinema. They thought it was its own thing. Maybe that could confuse rumors because now you kind of have like 10 properties in one,
right?
That you think maybe that's its own house. No, it's actually a piece of Slaughter Sinema.
Yeah. So I agree with that. Yeah, I mean that's definitely part of it too. I think because I mean we've said before we don't know what some of these rumor channels or rumor pages where they get their information from and where and who it comes from and what are they reading into, and it's really kind of just this is what was written here in the treatment and there's really nothing given away. We don't really know what it's talking about, or hey, we ordered this many props that or material that looks like this. So
and that's because like look at the spec map now, like say we don't get a museum house, maybe there's a movie in Slaughter Sinema that's like museum-esque, and then like we still have a completely unknown house that kind of got hidden by Slaughter.
Which is good. And I mean now I'm more interested to see if we get spec map 3. I want to kind of see what has changed. Because I'm interested just kind of see how that works. But I mean, if they're going to announce everything like hot and heavy now for the next couple of weeks, so
there's no point of a spec map at that point.
I mean, it's nice that HHN's kind of gotten ahead of the leaks.
That might be a thing
we
too.
We haven't gotten a house leak shirt or anything like that, which if that happens again, like you really are a piece of garbage. Yeah. But like it's nice that we've gotten out ahead of that a little bit this year because the last couple of years have been kind of like because someone had to go and be like, hey, guess what I found? Ta-da!
Yeah, so, and that's I think a part of it too. Maybe they're doing these announcements earlier because they want to get ahead. They don't want to
get ahead of it.
Version 3 or 4 to have 100% accuracy.
Right.
They want to be like, oh, this is our stuff.
They don't want Universal HHN Secrets 124887B on Twitter to fucking like drop images of shit that they got from their fucking best friend who works at fucking I don't
wherever.
know,
As a janitor.
T-shirt warehouse that got all the T-shirts early.
Yeah, so that's that. Any last thoughts on Goblin's Feast?
No,
Kinda
I'm
cover
gonna
that
give it some
all.
time. I'm not gonna sit here and shit on it immediately until I get more information. I'm not excited about it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna sit here and be like,
Yeah, I just got
"This is
Slaughter.
trash."
Yeah, I got Slaughter. I'm happy. That's fine.
Oh, right.
Like,
I think that helps. I think like getting Slaughter Cinema too, or just like,
yeah, that's fine. Have your
that's
house.
cool. Whatever.
I got my house.
Yeah.
I got mine. That's like, Dead Man's house. It's like,
Right. It would be
got
like
mine.
getting Dead Man's, or like you said earlier, like, it would be like getting
That's fine.
Shining as like an IP. I'd be like, oh, cool. Everything else is fucking cake at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. So we don't have a lot of speculation scuttlebutt to talk about. There was, we kind of hit upon it that the rumors are that we were probably going to be getting some more announcements. I don't know if it's going to be every day. It's kind of interesting. I do like that they're posting at either 10:33 or 12:33 for the 33-minute mark.
It's kind of cool.
It's kind of cheeky. I like it. They've been posting at like midnight at 12:33 a.m. They posted the number 3, and it was 3 days later that we got Goblins. So they haven't. I'll be curious if they post that. If they post that again tonight.
That whole stuff with like the Matrix screenshots, have we deciphered any of that yet? Or
that whole trailer is interesting, and I guess we can kind of talk about that because we didn't talk about that last week with you. That whole trailer is kind of not connected to anything we've seen so far. So
it's super random.
So it kind of leads me more to believe there's 2 theories out there. The one that it's not even theory. I just have such a lack of faith that they're going to connect everything with their commercials because they just don't usually.
Yeah.
Last year it was like all these secret codes, and then it just ended up being Legend of HHN. You're like, what the fuck? This means nothing. It's just a cool tagline. So I think that's kind of where it is, where it's like fear is unleashed or whatever.
Yeah.
The other theory, which I don't know if you guys are going to enjoy or not, there was a rumor going around that they're going to retcon a bunch of stuff. And the retcon is that the icon this year, whatever it might be, is essentially going to be Fear's boss. Like a super god level tier villain that like oversees the overseer. And it's kind of like, if you want to put it in Marvel perspective, kind of the Thanos to Ronin. Avengers 1 was the Shikari invading America, invading New York. And that was with Loki. And that was like, oh, he's the big bad. And you're like, oh, actually, that was Thanos' army who was sent to go do it. So like, they're kind of going up a level. So that's a rumor right now.
It's funny you bring that up because, again, I'm not dialed into the rumor stuff. Like, I don't use Twitter or any of that social media, so I don't really read a lot of what people are coming up with. But now that you say that, one of the thoughts I had was kind of being relevant with just today's world and the rise of AI and how fast that's happened. Like, what if it's this year we are getting Fear again, and Fear has managed to make himself, or I might say himself, but make itself an AI. We're getting like an AI version of Fear. And he's going to kind of like take over the event this year. And then we're going to have like a lot of like that computer imagery stuff, that ones and zeros. Like, it's him talking, controlling things through the computer systems. And I thought there was a lot of things they could do with some of the park effects with that. Mm-hmm. So like the sound effects and the music and stuff over the thing, you can hear like, the general music you typically get throughout the park, but then maybe like every once in a while you hear like that static and he cuts in. And it's like Fear is, taking over this particular thing and like talking to you as you're kind of going through the park, maybe roping in one of the scare zones to it. But
Jamie, what do you think about like this like retcon of the overlord of Fear, I guess?
Well, I was a little quiet about it because if they're going to do a big overlord retcon of Fear kind of thing, then why don't they just use Fear? They didn't really use him before. I feel like they could definitely use him now. And he could still encompass the event and kind of the theming they've been going through with some of the videos. Honestly, I feel like the videos aren't really going to be like you were saying, Nick. I don't think it's going to really lead to like the whole theme of the event, maybe. Just because I feel like with how they've been doing it, they don't really like add up. It's just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Vague.
Yes, the vague. That's exactly what I'm looking for. It's just kind of vague more so. So maybe they're doing that since they haven't announced the IP yet. Maybe I still think it's going to be an announcement for A Quiet Place. Maybe I feel like they're going to use that as their big draw if they do use A Quiet Place, just
I
with the
think
kind
you're
of
right.
creatures that they had. Even though we haven't seen the new one, even though it hasn't came out yet, I watched the trailer for it the other day, and it's definitely kind of like post-apocalyptic, like New York City looking style with the big creatures and stuff like that. So I feel like with the reflection that we got in the excuse me, in the archway in that specific video with all the coding and stuff like it, I don't know, I feel like it's just kind of leaning towards maybe they're trying to build up this big IP announcement and try to make a big thing out of A Quiet Place or for something, and that's why they're announcing the originals first. But yeah, if they're gonna do this whole thing with Fear and try to make like a big spin-off or like bigger, higher power version of him, I feel like they should just use him, you know? They have him and they have already kind of a backstory for him, and I feel like the only instances he was there was in the Icon's house and then the previous year when they had him in the scare zone, kind of like at the opening ceremony entrance.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about like retconning Fear because
look what happened with Pumpkin Lord.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think he was used properly. And it's tough because Fear's not really a person; he's more of an entity.
Correct.
So it's kind of tough to translate that. So I don't know. It's
if done the right way, it can be done. It can be done well. I think he deserves more of a chance. It's just like Lady Luck. I feel like Lady Luck got shortchanged, and she didn't really get much of a chance to redeem herself. And I think Fear deserves one of those as well. I know a lot of people aren't massive Fear fans, but I think that his character honestly is one of the more interesting characters when it comes to the icons. Everyone else is like borrowed, like it's borrowed from other from horror media. Like Jack, we've gone over this a million times. He's just the Joker. You know, I love the director and I love the usher, but that's literally what they are. The directors, like, is a movie director and an usher from movie theater. I think it's a great story, but it's nothing unique about it. At least I think Fear, there's a lot of things you can do with that that's relatively unique. I like the idea of him playing off your fears. Like he is the embodiment of whatever you are afraid of most. And I think that's a really cool idea. I really think to play off of. And I wish they would do an event where it's him, and we've talked about this, but doing like each house based on like somebody's fear.
Yeah. Fear of goblins.
Yeah, fucking goblins. Scary shit.
So yeah, I don't
bugs
know.
that year for me.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that was talked about on the forums a little bit last week. So I guess it's good hitting on that. But yeah, I'm just curious what it will tie into with that video, because that trailer like shows the whatever blowing the doors off and coming out and then kind of flipping the Universal upside down, and there's this weird creature thing underneath. So I'm curious what they're going to do with that. And it's weird that they put all that stuff out and then just drop the originals without any teasers. So that's like a little bit of a weird thing. So I think that about wraps up for today. Horror movies of the week.
Do we want to?
Oh, yeah.
So I was just going to ask, do we want to talk about the T-shirt they dropped? Like just
the new one. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that one. I like that one a lot more.
Me too.
I'm really into this one. Get it. Yeah.
It makes sense too with the character that they introduced for Slaughter Sinema. I'm assuming that is some sort of play with that style. But again, I'm curious because like it doesn't necessarily fit. I don't know. We just have so many unanswered questions. We have two originals.
So all over the place.
Yeah, we have two originals that are normal HHN originals. They're very different from one another. They don't tie into that like necessarily that style of the shirt. And then the videos are just complete nonsense that don't tie into any of those things. So it's like we have three different worlds right now where we have like merch world, advertising, and like execution. And it doesn't seem right now that they've talked to each other. So I'm curious if it meets in the middle somewhere at some point.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because the shirt, it's weird. It's got like Japanese lettering. I like that.
I'm just telling you about this shirt. I really like it. And it's got that acid wash look too.
Yeah,
I think
so.
It's like not just like a straight up black T-shirt, white T-shirt, orange T-shirt. It's like it's different. It's something that they haven't really done before in the past. So I'm kind of interested, and it's actually honestly making me more hyped for. I think we're getting like a '90s event. I think this event's going to be very '90s heavy.
Yeah,
which I think is cool. We haven't really seen that before.
Which again, like I just need to see it. That's the one thing that Universal hasn't done properly in my eyes the last couple of years is tying everything together, like advertising, theme, like even the ads for last year didn't necessarily tie in
Right.
with the vibe or whatever. They just kind of sort of gets lost in translation a little bit. So I'm hoping that if we do have that like 90s punky whatever shit, tie it in, like make it fluid, put it everywhere.
I think
it makes sense.
With the character they dropped at Spooky, I think that kind of fits in. He's got that spiky hair, 90s punk aesthetic, which is like kind of where I think they're leaning.
Yeah, I think so too. But anything else we want to talk about, or?
Well, I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Call-ins. We haven't had any call-ins this week, but if you do want to call into the show,
that's okay.
Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about either Slaughter Sinema 2 or Goblins Feast, call in 689-244-0956.
Yeah, shit. If worst comes to worst, we'll just do a call-in episode.
Yeah, leave a voicemail and we'll kind of go over your thoughts. And if you have other thoughts on potential announcements that we may or may not be getting, who knows? By the time this episode you're listening to, there's probably a third house announced. So we'll probably try and jump back on later on in the week and kind of round it all up and talk about it all. Horror movies of the week. I don't think I've watched anything. I've been so busy with just bullshit. But Jamie, you're typically watching random stuff.
I am watching random stuff right now. I am reviewing the new season of Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire for Macabre Daily, the website that I write for. Hint, hint, you guys could check out if you'd like. Check out some of my writing stuff. But yeah, I haven't watched the first season of it. I kind of got into the next season after just watching a recap of the first season. It's actually really interesting. I don't know if you like Anne Rice's stuff, Seamus, or if you read any of your books. I haven't read any of the books, but the series is really interesting.
Is it good? I have never read the book. I liked the movie. It's the Tom Cruise movie, right?
Yeah.
I do like the movie. I've never. I mean, obviously, Anne Rice is, I think, more of a girl. I hate to put it that way in 2024, but I feel like she was always very much. She writes novels.
It's more like romance horror, I guess.
Romance novel type stuff. And no, it's not really been my thing, but I appreciate the movie. I think the movie's really good. So I've been meaning to check out the show.
It's
so
pretty
if you
cool,
recommend
honestly.
it, I will watch it.
It's pretty good. What about you, Nick? You didn't watch anything? Did you watch anything, Seamus?
I got nothing on my mind.
Not horror related. Like I said, I binged 8 episodes of House of the Dragon. So if you're a Game of Thrones fan, it's not horror related, but I mean it is worth the watch. I've still got a couple episodes to go, but otherwise I have not watched anything horror since the last time we talked. Although there are a couple things I want to try to catch. I think Night Swim was one of the ones. I think you guys had mentioned it a few weeks ago.
Peacock.
Terrible.
It's not great, but
No.
I did want to watch it just to kind of see what was all the fuss about. But
I did too, because pools creep me out. I grew up with a pool, and I was like, "Ooh, this will be kind of spooky," but it didn't really do it for me, unfortunately.
And then the Frankenstein,
Lisa
what's her
Frankenstein.
name? Lisa Frankenstein. I wanted to watch that too.
That one is fun.
Which I have not watched yet.
It was really cute. I liked it.
I did. Right. I actually, now that you say that, I did start Wednesday finally.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
I started it. I never finished it.
I do want to say, I texted you guys about it. One more thing, Nick. Sorry. I saw the TV glow. Hopefully we could all see that soon, because that looks really good and we could have something.
I have never heard of that, so I will go check out the trailer.
It's A24. Watch the trailer for it. It looks really interesting.
You'll like
it.
It's
an A24 movie. It's definitely going to be up my alley.
You'll like it. All right. Well, before we take off, we want to reiterate this Wednesday, in 2 days, 1 day, whenever you're listening. Trivia, May 22nd.
Wednesday. Sorry.
Wednesday, May 22nd, 7:30 p.m. at Topgolf Orlando. We're going to be hosting
You're
our
in
4-year.
Town. Come say hi.
Yep, a 4-year anniversary. Come celebrate with us. 100 Days Till Horror Nights. We're going to be with Catacombs of Halloween Horror Nights, HHN365, the RIP Tour, and then we have Murder on Main and DOA Clothing there, slinging some merch, so come with some money. And we are going to try, no promises, but we are going to try to set this up on YouTube Live. So if you cannot make it in person, you can watch it at home on YouTube. So make sure you head over to our YouTube channel, give us a follow there, like, subscribe, whatever you do on YouTube. And yeah, that really is about it for us this week. So until next time, this is Nick.
This is Seamus, the #1 Goblin enjoyer.
This is Jamie.
Goblin Hans.
Goblin enjoyer.
know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out. Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.